Hello and welcome to another episode of our top producer interviews. Now, this is a special one specifically because I'm sure you've seen all the information about how well our telesales team is performing. However, that's not to say that the old tried and true old fashioned way of doing business doesn't still work. And I've got my friend Jonathan Jack on today to tell us exactly how he was successful selling 7 policies in his very first week in our face-to-face career program where we're providing free agents or free leads to the agent. So if you're in a place where you're wondering which option would be best for you, why would somebody choose face-to-face? Is it right for me? Is a free leads right for me? If you have any of those types of questions in mind, this is the show for you because we're going to dive deep into it with Jonathan, talk about the pros and cons, any challenges he's experienced, and kind of maybe his plans moving forward from here. So before we get any further, I want to say thank you for joining me and welcome, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start with that, my friend. Let's talk about why would somebody choose specifically working face to face? Because everybody, the sexy thing these days is jumping and selling from the phone. What made you decide to sell face to face?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I have experience face to face and other sales. And so when I was jumping into an industry that I had nothing, I had no experience in, I wanted to stick with something that I actually knew a little bit about. So that face to face was there. And I've done a little bit of it wasn't exactly telesales, but it was over the phone work. And man, I'll tell you, it eats me up when I got to sit behind a computer screen all day. So getting out, seeing people, it's what I wanted to do. And this has been the best experience I've had with face to face. So I really enjoy it.
Okay, excellent. And kind of some of those same reasons are the reason why me personally, or I personally sold face to face as well. So let's talk about then what made you decide to choose the free lead program. We call it our career program, working with the coach, mentor, Joe Bushalaki, as compared to buying your own leads. What drove you to that decision?
Yeah, well, again, coming into an industry I didn't know. So I didn't have a ton of capital. I did my due diligence on the front end to try to see what it was going to be like coming into the insurance industry, how long it was going to take to get paid. And it really just came down to just the money coming in. And so realizing that there was a program out there where I could be able to make an income without having to do the upfront, lead buys was huge for me, and being able to opt out of that later on down the line also. So I wasn't stuck in one thing, but I was able to have kind of some training wheels coming in. That was a big deal. And then Joe is Joe is just the added bonus I didn't know I was getting. And when I met Joe, man, it was like I definitely made the right choice here. Like that guy is gifted, and um man, everything that you're seeing numbers wise, I can attribute to his guidance and leadership there. So that was a massive bonus. I didn't really fully understand what I was getting there, but I'm very thankful for it.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Yeah, and kudos to my friend Joe Bushalaki there. And
Yeah.
so that being said, kind of maybe that's the answer to the next question here is there's a lot of choices of different agencies out there, and for folks that are trying to decide what would be the right fit for them, I say that 8 out of 10 times you're going to end up running into one of the two culprits, either heading over to an MLM type agency or a captive agency where you only have access to a single product as compared to being an independent broker. But maybe guide us through the process of when you were first starting learning about selling final expense, what led you specifically over to the dig agency?
Um, I had interviews with a few different companies, and some of them I had pretty high referrals from, family, friends, and stuff like that. And it came down to the fact that when I was watching the YouTubes from the dig agency, the YouTube videos, what I saw was, you know, just they were very upfront, very, transparent about not just the good things, but also the bad things. And I wasn't able to get that from anybody else. And then also I was recognizing that there was just not a whole lot of bad words coming out of the dig agency. Like not a bunch of disgruntled, people that had dealt with them. And so um, it really just came down to the fact that I through one means or another, I really trusted the dig agency, and that was just who I felt in my gut I needed to go with, and I don't regret it. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm imagining somebody who may be watching this video who may be kind of in a similar place to you were before getting started. Maybe they're new
Yeah.
to the industry, and they're out there trying to decide on the agency. And not only that, let's say they are maybe interested in working with us here at the Dig Agency. Like, what kind of person do you think would be a good fit? Number one, for the agency, and more specifically, for that program, doing the free lead program, doing face to face? Who would be a good fit for that, in your opinion?
Honestly, number one, you've got to be teachable, and you've got to have a work ethic. Like, you're not, if you're gonna come in here thinking that you can just, you know, you know, go to a few houses and make a lot of money, that's just not the case. I came from a background where I was hitting 60, 80 doors a day. And so recognizing that, coming into this, I already knew, like, when you're dealing with sales, you got to see the people. And if you're not seeing the people, you're not going to be making the money. So understand that it is work. You are going to have to put the work out there. And that's both telesales and face to face. But and then being teachable. When I came in here, I have background in sales, and I could have chosen, you know, that I know what I'm doing and I'm just gonna, roll that way. But um, man, I came in recognizing, hey, I need to learn everything I can from the people who are successful, and that's exactly what Joe was. And so um, just being able to have Joe mentor me through the process, and just realizing that if I'm not doing it the way that Joe's doing it, um, Joe's the one who's seeing the he's seeing the results, right? And so I need to be able to recognize the areas that I need to change, rather than try to figure out how to do it my way, rather than Joe's. So just teachability and work ethic is the main things that I think that are going to help you here.
Okay, perfect. Yep. And once again, in case you guys missed it there, so we keep referring to Joe. Joe is the coach, trainer, manager, however you want to refer to him, of our face-to-face career program. So that's why we refer to him a lot, because he is Jonathan's direct coach and mentor. So, but that being said, Jonathan, could you walk me through what was the process like from the moment you decided to work with Dig to the day that you started out in the field? Like, walk us through that timeline of the steps that it took to get started.
Yeah, this is probably what has set you guys apart, in because I don't have ton of experience with the other agencies I decided not to go with. But what I do know is, at the very beginning, before I even had my license, I was in a kind of like get to know the company kind of question and answer class. And you guys were able to fill me in on a lot of things that I was, had questions about before I ever even had a decision to make there. And then it was just a simple process where if I wanted to, move down the pipeline and talk to a coach about seeing what was going to be, what that would look like, that was super easy to do. And this was even before I had my license. So when I got in touch with Joe, or he got in touch with me, I wasn't ready to come on to the agency. They didn't even know if I was going to pass my test yet, right? But Joe was like, he started meeting with me twice a week at that point, because he knew I was serious. He knew that I wanted to have success here, and we started role playing before I was, even, licensed. So, like, the fact that you guys are able to, hone in on the fact that I was serious, and be able to take me seriously, was huge for me. So, I did that. Got to know Joe a little bit there. When I got my license, it was like, all right, Joe, I'm ready to roll. And he said, okay, man, we're starting Monday. This is probably like a Thursday, right? And so I was quickly moved into a training class, and then we met 3 times a day via Zoom, and I was able to practice scripts. I was able to get things rolling, get everything down that I needed to. And then Joe was just a wealth of just information and experience when it came to, um, you know, understanding what the day to day was going to be like, and really just helping me feel, kind of get a feel for the road.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, and thanks for that insight as far as like kind of answering those questions, the Q&A stuff. I've done a lot of those as well myself.
Hmm.
And what I can tell you, the folks that are really interested in this face-to-face program, I would say that the kind of the top questions would be number one is how many leads could I expect to get started? And then number two, like where are the leads going to be at? Like, can you walk us through how those would look?
Yeah, absolutely. So, how many leads we're looking at to get started? So I started out with 20 leads my first week, and we as far as where they are located, is that like the houses or where the leads you go to find the leads? Just to clarify the
Uh,
question.
Yeah, like their geographic location, like where, like it's,
Geographic,
yeah.
gotcha. Okay. So they're Facebook leads, so they're more spread out. I'm driving quite a bit now. I'm going to be honest. It's just a little bit more than what I was driving in my previous job, but obviously the payout for the drive is it's totally worth it. So I drive probably, 200, 250 miles a day, on average. And so we're driving quite a bit. I'm looking at 3 counties that I work in. And so depending on, where those leads populate is where I'm going to be headed. But yeah, we started out with 20. The second week, I guess we're looking at now, or it was last week was 30. And then, we'll see where it goes from there.
Perfect, perfect. I got it. Yeah. So, what to kind of explain that answer a little bit further? So, the leads that we're typically using in this free lead program for face to face are coming from Facebook. They're digital leads, and depending upon which vendor that we're using, because sometimes they go up, down, left, and right, so we kind of have to make adjustments. So, typically, what will happen is you'll usually choose like a center point of where you want your leads to come in. That can be the house that you live in, the center of the town that you're closest to, or wherever makes sense geographically, right? It can be different for every person. And then the leads would come in from like a 50-mile radius around the center point. Alternatively, there are some vendors that we utilize for this program that will allow you to select the actual county. And so depending upon the population of the county, you may be successful with just the one county, but if there's not enough folks there to show the ad to, you may need up to 3 counties. And that's kind of what Jonathan was talking about there. So let's talk about another popular question that I get is as when the leads come in, what happens from there? Are you calling to preset appointments? Is Joe calling? Is there an appointment setter? Do you knock all of them? Or how does that process? What was Joe's advice as far as that door knocking and
Yeah,
calling?
for me is just door knocking. Get out there, put them in a route planning software so that you can optimize your route, and then just hit the doors. Joe works really heavily on door knocking, just trying to make sure that we're utilizing, every chance we get at the door to be able to do it. And it's been effective. So we don't he's talked about possibly pre-setting appointments over calls, but at this point it's not necessary because we're doing so good in the door. So
Got it. And then just to clarify for people who are not familiar with funnel expense, when we say door knock, that means that we've got a lead that has expressed interest. They've entered their phone number, address, etc., and we go show up at their house to give them the information they asked for. As compared to some industries, the first couple that come to mind are like solar or roofing, where you like canvas a neighbor. Like you show up and you knock on every door in the whole neighborhood. Like we're not doing that. Not to say that you couldn't, but that's not what we recommend doing. So, but that's what the door knocking process is. And I know that Joe's very heavy on a specific way to go about door knocking to get into doors. What was kind of the guidance there as far as what the expectations were as far as door knocking, getting indoors, what you were saying, or tell us a little bit about that experience.
well, I had some expectations from my previous years in selling door to door. So I kind of knew the way that was going to go. coming into here though, I'm going to be like, I was not given such like good leads in my last job. So coming to these doors, being able to find people home that have already filled out these, requests for information is it is a lot better of an experience than just going to people who have like no clue why you're there. So it's been better than my expectation has been, but it's just like any sales. Like you're gonna have your kickbacks, and you're gonna have the people that don't want to do anything at first. And so just being persistent at the door with a smile is the way to do that. So yeah.
Perfect, perfect. And so let's get into more specifically that first week out in the field, the 7 apps that you wrote. Kind of give us an idea of what that looked like, how you achieved that. I'm assuming these were all door knocks. Was there any husband-wife deals? How many presentations maybe did that take to get those kind of that closing ratio? Or give us an idea how that
Okay.
looked.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was this was interesting. So my first 3 days were absolute zeros. And I haven't gone 3 days without a sale in a long time. I was starting to be like, man, what's going on? So yeah, I was that fourth day, it was over a weekend too. So I worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I had a weekend. And so I'm like going on 5 days with nothing. And I'm kind of getting to the depths there. I was like, man, I guess I just gotta keep moving, gotta keep going to the houses, right? And that day I got 4 sales, had 2 singles and one husband and wife sale. And it was just like, I, first of all, 3 days, no sales. I'm in my head. I'm like thinking like, this is bad. I've really made a jump into something that is over my head. But yeah, that was a huge blessing. I was able to walk into that, work through the script, and the script works, man. It's just magic. And so these they were ready. We built enough, um, you know, desire. We knew the reason they were looking for it, the why, and then we were able to build out the problem. And by the end of the problem, I mean, it was just like, absolutely, we're ready to move forward. So they were actually very. I was very appreciative of Joe being able to nail down how important that part was. I mean, made those sales come fairly easy. After that, I think I had a sale. I think I had a sale a day after that. If my memory is correct. So it's been, just since then it's been able to keep my confidence up, been able to move forward. Joe is like so relieved when I called him that day, and he was like, how many sales did you get? I was like, I got 4, man. He's like yelled through the phone. He's like, dude, I'm so excited for you. He's
Yeah.
like, you just made my whole day. But yeah, it's just the encouragement from him, the confidence that comes with just getting those first sales in has been a big game changer for me too. So
Gotcha. Fantastic. So, the last thing I kind of wanted to address was a lot of people may have some apprehension about selling following sprints. I really think that probably the two most common pushback reasons would be number one, like how much driving is this going to entail? And then number two, like potentially going into undesirable locations. Maybe it seems potentially dangerous or sketchy or otherwise, right? So, tell us about your experience, and maybe not just that first week, but just in general. Kind of what things have you run into? Is that something for what should new agents, I guess, should be worried about or concerned of, or what are the realities of it?
I mean, yes, there's some situations where you just need to keep your head on a swivel. You just need to be smart. Like that's just common sense. But I think that most of the time, like I never grew up very like wealthy. So coming from into these places that are a little bit more, I don't know, they're people I'm very comfortable being around. And so I recognize going into, a trailer park, or going into a place where, a low income senior living area, like these areas are they can be dangerous, but a lot of times what is scary to most people is a whole lot different once you get involved and you start talking to the people. Um, so like for me, and I can't talk for what I would do if I was a woman, but like for me, if I feel really wrong about something, I'm gonna listen to my gut, and I'm gonna turn around and go to the next lead. But for me, like my desire is really to help these people, and I will probably not let the surrounding area get in the way. If I can actually help somebody in those houses, I'll give them a knock. If something weirds me out in the process, I have the right to call it stops whenever I feel like I need to. So, I just take it one step at a time. And, as long as you're smart, I think you can, figure that out. Most of the time, you're just going in to find a super nice person who just really wants to talk to somebody. And, you know, you walk away from there realizing, like, man, I don't know why in the world I had any apprehension about walking into this at all.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and I could kind of agree to what you're saying there. For me personally, I found it to be a very humbling experience, right? Because some of these places that you go into, these are what you would call the salt of the earth kind of folks, right? Your middle working class kind of folks or lower income folks. And what you find is by sitting when you're sitting in their living room, dining room, wherever that may be, you understand the impact that $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 policy, which although it may seem small in relative terms, I'm thinking of like the total overview of life insurance and what are some, obviously $1 million policies, right, for term insurance, things like that. And it really kind of solidifies or sells you on the idea that like this really is the best option for these folks, meaning like they're not going to be able to cough up 5, 10, $20,000 like tomorrow if they had to. Like it would be a struggle for them. And so it is a rewarding feeling in knowing and seeing these people in person and knowing the kind of impact that having that policy, something that's affordable for them, what kind of an impact that would have for them. Like getting a check for it obviously is going to be the worst day of their life if they're the beneficiary, seeing that loved one pass because they're likely the most close person to them if they're the beneficiary.
Yeah.
But having that check for that amount of money, could really be a game changer for their family, not just to cover that cost of the cremation, burial, whatever it may be, but any of those leftover funds in addition to that could really could help somebody in a situation that could potentially very much need it. So that was kind of my experience as well. So that being said, what kind of advice would you have to somebody who's considering getting into final expense, just in general, and making those decisions, kind of like we talked about, deciding on an agency, deciding face to face, deciding if free leads? Any other advice? Like, do they have to have a sales background like you did? Could anybody do this, or any other advice for somebody who's maybe on the fence right now?
Um, a background, just being able to talk and communicate well. Like it doesn't have to be sales. Like I know I was a pastor for a while. A lot of my pastor friends would be very good at this. Like it's just being able to really communicate well. And I really think it's an important aspect to be able to actually care about the individual, not just here for the paycheck. But yeah, I think sales background helps. I don't think it's necessary. But I also, I'm speaking from my experience. I think, like I mentioned, hard work is definitely gonna have to happen. If you're gonna make that jump, you're gonna have to recognize that this is gonna take a lot of hard work, and you have to be able to accept that and do that. And then be as teachable as you possibly can, because the people that are teaching you are the people that are trying to help you. They know what it takes, and they're gonna help you get up to speed. Other than that, I would say have some. I mean, have like at least at least a month of money on the back end for your expenses. Like, don't come into this blind with nothing, like with just your last paycheck. Like have some reserve money, because like if you start, you know if the expenses start to get really tight, you become a different person in the home, and people recognize that anxiety, and they mistake that for um you know things that are less less savory, and nobody wants to deal with somebody who's being a sleazebag. So, make sure that the exterior like things are not having an effect on your time in the home. And a big one is do you have enough money to pay your bills for at least a month from starting here? I would say, I mean, let's be real, you probably need more, but that's at least. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Wow, man. I'll tell you, that is absolutely solid advice. And I wish maybe it was said to me that kind of way when getting started. I kind of had the idea of getting going, but I feel like you put it in a way that is very understandable, relatable. So I would 100% agree with everything you said there. Last but not least, Jonathan, what is your plan moving forward, man? Are you going to stay on this free lead program? Are you going to stay as a field agent working face to face? What does the future look like for you? Maybe building an agency, Medicare, or kind of where are you thinking you're going from here?
Um, I love face to face. That's probably going to be where I stay. The free lead program, I will stay with free lead. I'll stay with it for the first 8 weeks, and we're gonna relook at it. Cause honestly, I would love to be out there buying my own leads and doing it. So that's kind of, I've got that in the viewfinder there. But agency, it's definitely crossed my mind. I need to get my feet more wet before I really make a final decision on that one. But yeah, I like the opportunity of opportunity. So it's exciting to recognize that there are so many options here. I'm not just going to be stuck doing the same thing for the next 10 years. I can actually grow inevitably as far as I want. So that's a huge plus.
Excellent, excellent. Well, fantastic. I just want to congratulate you one more time, Jonathan, on
Thank
a
you.
job well done so far. And I wish you continued success moving forward. If you're watching this video and you've got to the end of it, you're clearly interested in selling follow expense or working with us here at the Dig Agency. Whether you decided you wanted to sell face to face or not, we've got options and programs available for face to face, for telesales, free leads, for buying your own leads, and with different levels of commission. So if you want to learn more, davidduford.com is the place to go. And once again, Jonathan, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank
And
you.
I wish you that continued success out there. And thanks for your time.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man.